Wanted to come and talk to you guys about this article I seen. 60 Minutes. I was watching on YouTube. And they was talking about the great um, resignation of people quitting their jobs, like in the last year to about November to now. And their topic was people are quitting their job in record numbers. So I wanted to, they talk about analytics and they look at numbers, but I want to talk about the gray area of some of the working in some of these places that people don't talk about. Because, like I say, I'm a humor guy. I like laughing. I deal with stuff in humor. I kind of see patterns and I see stuff that's kind of entertaining that makes me laugh. Like, oh, they do this at this job. Okay, I get it. So I worked at some of these jobs. I found one of my old resumes. Oh my God, it's crazy, but worked at some of these jobs. So I know exactly what's and memories and things, and a lot of it don't change. I see some of the people that still work there, and they say nothing really changed, but the management, like turnover and stuff like that. But as far as the actual job, though, the actual culture, it kind of still the same. So, um, a person that works for LinkedIn, an economist, she was quoted as saying, "The nation is at a high level that it's ever been of people quitting their jobs. Like, just quit. I quit. I don't want to work anymore. I quit." They're probably not even putting a 2 weeks notice in. They just quitting. Um, Another person that worked at LinkedIn is no Indeed. I'm sorry, Indeed, the job search engine. They're pretty good. You should check them out for a job search engine. Nick Bunker said that people that was quitting were in the section that people was quitting in the most was in the high, no, was in the low wage section, like hotel, restaurant industry, stuff like that. I would love to hear some of you guys' comments on what you think about this, because I think it's a bunch of gray area that they don't talk about in mainstream media, and probably, they don't do that, but because they probably haven't worked there, some of them kind of could be out of touch. But analytics play some part in it, but there's also some other things that factor into this too that people really don't. I call it the gray area, but it's black, white, and it's gray. Kind of in the middle is that area that everybody knows about, but doesn't everybody talk about. And then it's different angles that you can see stuff from, depending on which side of the fence you're on. Some people may like it, some people might not, but I'm just giving you some stuff that I've seen and talked to younger people, even me being in a youth myself and seeing things growing up. It kind of make you think how to attack life a little bit different than what was done before you, and how to show those after you about how to attack life. So what I'm going to do is talk about some of these industries and some of the pros and cons. What are some of the reasons these jobs have higher hiring open positions? And do you know the difference between a career and a job? Is this a job? Is it a career? Is it something I can be at for a long time? Or is it just a stepping stone for me to get to the career path that I want to get to? So, pull up my resume on my phone real quick. Let's see. So, one of the industries that's hit with the high quit rate, people quitting, is retail. They have a 6.3% open jobs. And they're probably third on the list. I think third highest with open positions. Retail, that's nationwide. Retail jobs are really depend on how you built. Some people like them, some people don't. Let's see. I worked at Walmart from when I worked at Walmart. Let me find it. From December 2010 to May 2011. So what? Almost 5 or 6 months or something like that. 7 months. December, January, February, March, April, May. 6 months. Okay. Now, worked at Walmart. my first job was, I don't know if it's considered retail, probably more food, Baskin Robbins, and they ended up closing down. But retail jobs, you have to work. There is not a lot of benefits, if any, offered at all. This depends on where you work at. And most of the time, they're open just about 24/7, or maybe a couple holidays. And the pay is not astronomical as well. For me, I looked at it as a stepping stone. I didn't look at that as a career. Not for me. Um, I mean, pros, you work there, you may get discounts. You may they do have a high level of positions you can move up to, but it depends on who you are. You're real slow. Me, I just wasn't that retail guy. Being on your feet, one of the cons is being on your feet all the time. I mean, you have to have some comfortable shoes to work. For me, working at Walmart, you gotta have some like running shoes, like some track shoes, like with a thick sole that can handle walking on that concrete all day. That's the kind of stuff people don't tell you. And then when you go on Walmart, you see people that they just look wore down sometimes because they're walking. If you're working 7 hours, 4 to 7 hours, you're gonna be up on your feet 4 to 7 hours. You may get a 30-minute break and two 15-minute breaks, but you got to be strategic about that. And then if something come up, you may lose the 15-minute break. You may not even, if something come up. I know when I worked at Walmart, they had to unload the truck, and if they was taking their time or they didn't have enough people, they would call all the men in the back. Hey, we need all the men in the back. Come to the back. You already know what it was. Me, I used to try to make it last longer than it did. Sometimes my manager had to come get me like, hey, Mike, you want to come to the back? Oh, man, I'm folding these clothes up, just playing it off. But that's the kind of stuff they don't tell you. The wear and tear that it puts on your body from working at a retail store that's huge. I know I worked at the big store on Shackleford. That store was huge. I mean, walking that whole store or just being in one section, but you're up on your feet, moving around, walking around. It's not that bad if you're walking, but if you're standing still or folding clothes or doing stuff like that, it attacks you. I mean, your back, I know for me, from being tall, man, my back feel like it wanted to jump out. Like my back it just didn't like it. So what I did was I just worked there long enough until I could find something else. But I also was curious about what it was like to work at a retail place like that. Because I thought it was easy. That's why I was telling people, don't fall for this stuff. It's just easy. Like, I thought it was, oh, this is easy. It's Walmart. It's easy. I can do this, no problem. But I went in there and I was like, it's easy, but I don't want to do this for a long term. That's what definitely motivated me to go back to school and go to school in IT and learn there, because like I said, I didn't want to be a person that was stuck in a place like that. And the highest level you probably could get maybe store manager or executive, but they take so much of your time that you really don't have a life balance. You're at the store so much that some of the managers I seen, I don't even know when they was off work, because they was always there. I mean, they may leave at like 8 or 9, but you probably was there probably 7 or 8 in the morning. So 7 in the morning to 9 at night, can you work that schedule? A lot of them say the money was good, but the health, the stress was a lot on them. So that's something to think about as well. So another thing I want to talk about working in retail is you don't get benefits. Like, you don't get health benefits because you don't work enough hours. I know some jobs, if you don't work over 40 hours a week, you don't get benefits. So instead of giving you 40, they'll give you like 38.5 or right at 38. And if you hit that fast, they'll tell you don't come in no more that week because they don't want to give you benefits, like loopholes and stuff like that. They said pay is one. Low pay, low wage. When I started working, I think I started my first job in the corporate world in 98. I was going to 10th grade, got a job at Baskin Robbins that summer. Work permit. I think they had work permit. Yeah, work permit. the minimum wage then was like $7.25, $7.50 back then. I'm showing my age, but $7.25, $7.50 back then. And I think now they trying to get it up to 15 now with the mandate. So and that was back then, that was 98. But now, some of these jobs, you're gonna get probably minimum wage. Maybe you get another dollar out of them, but most of them you're gonna be minimum wage. And you have to work your way up. You have to really like make yourself available, work your way up if you can handle the workload of working in retail. Like I say, my body didn't like it. It just being up on my feet all day and stuff like that. I could do it, but I just didn't like it. It just wasn't for me. And when I started learning about people that work in IT, excuse me, edit that out. When I started learning about people that work in IT, sit down job mostly, work in the office, not a lot of strain on your body. All you're doing is just working your mind. So, and I kind of learned that going to school. I was like, wait a minute, I can get paid a comparable income, not have to stand up and walk around, and if I can manage my time and show that I have the skill set, I can work in the office, in my own office, sitting in the chair, working on the computer. That's my main tool, working on the computer to do my job. I just have to know how to go to places, how to log into a server and all this stuff. So I took that and ran with it. So I was like, I don't have to work at Walmart. I don't have to do these little jobs where I can actually get into a career. And it's not labor. It's not a labor job. It's mostly mental. You know what I'm saying? So, but retail is a high turnover place, though. It's a lot of high turnover in retail that a lot of people don't talk about. Management. Some of the managers are micromanagers, or they just don't have good management style. They just kind of got there by default sometimes, because everybody else left for high turnover. So the next person up put that person over the cashiers, and they're driving the cashiers crazy. They talking crazy to them, and they end up losing some really good people because they always say, people don't leave the job, they leave their managers, or they leave the management style. So retail is, you got to be ready. You got to be cut from a different cloth. You got to be mentally ready to think outside the box and work in retail, especially for a long time. Because some people do work there and they do pretty good, but it just wasn't my cup of tea. So, my cup of tea. Education. Now, this is a tricky one. In order, from what I've seen in my small span of living, 38 years of living, in order to capitalize in the education field, you have to go to school. You can get maybe some jobs as an instructor, but you may not get the max value because you don't have the education. And they'll use that as a bargaining tool to try to bring you in at a lower cost. And it's kind of like being in the NFL. The more accolades you have, the more skills you have, the more you can negotiate, the more you can leverage. But if you don't have any skills, you don't have any accolades or stats, so to speak, you can't negotiate a lot. You kind of got to take what you can get. One thing that I've noticed with like the younger generation, even myself, they don't really want to go to school to be teachers. I mean, it's not like a highly sought out thing like it used to be. I think number one is because of pay, and number two is a lot of kids grow up and they see teachers go through struggles, like, they have just enough just to get by, or, they're not, really making a comparable salary of what you want to make, especially when you got the time to do the research. And it's like, why would I be a teacher when I can go in STEM, or, in the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and management, but, you can go into STEM and make, 60 plus, 60 and above. And, you start out as a teacher, you may be, somewhere under that, but not, some people don't want that, some people do. But I've seen a lot of, talked to a lot of youth, and I've heard them say, don't want to be a teacher, it's just not my thing, it kind of make a lot of younger people now like to move around and like to be mobile. So being stuck in one place, they don't really care for that too much. Be a college professor, you have to have at least a master's degree. They pay pretty good, but depending on which field you go in. But you probably got to have at least a master's degree to get pretty good money. Have a pretty competitive leveraging point. Okay. Oh, excuse me. Oh, edit that out. Another thing about education is, like I said, you sometimes to get the max level to be like a chancellor. I just kind of learned this myself working at a college. To be a chancellor, provost, any of those high leadership positions, you got to have at least from a master's to a PhD. Definitely to be a chancellor, you have a PhD. Most of the time, when you see chancellors and stuff, they have a PhD by their name. The best place to look at these kind of positions is look up on LinkedIn. They have a lot of people in those kind of positions, and I look at it all the time. You can find out what degree they have. You can see their career track. You can see how many years they work in different places, how they maneuver to where they got to. I do that for research all the time, and it's pretty interesting to see some people's path, how they got to being a chancellor, how they got to being a provost and teachers, instructors, and stuff like that. And you look at a lot of younger people, though, they do a lot of freelance stuff. A lot of younger people don't even want to go to school now. They want to kind of be entrepreneurs and stuff like that. And what I would say is thinking outside the box is if you can think of an entrepreneur, you can go to school for something that can enhance what you're doing as an entrepreneur. If you're running a business, you probably can go to school to learn how to do taxes or learn how to do finance, keep your books, or learn how to do business administration. So you can have the skill along with the degree. And sometimes by you having the experience and being an entrepreneur and you get a degree in that, if you do your planning and research and be strategic about it, you can mess around and get an executive position or working somewhere like that and get paid pretty nice. So something to think about. Education, I say, it's not a bad field. You really have to have a plan and have a strategy in place of what kind of teacher you want to be. What degree do you want to get a degree in? And does that translate to correlate to getting a master's degree in something that makes sense? Some degrees don't make sense, some don't. I'm going to try to get some stuff together and go through a couple colleges and look at degrees and stuff like that and show you different degrees, and we can look up, what's the field of pay, what's the projection of the job market in their field. Just do the research. That's why I would tell you, instead of looking at a bunch of clips on YouTube, we all surf well, we all do that, but also look at some of these fields, look at some of these positions that you want to do. Don't just look at entertain yourself all the time. Do some research. So another field is healthcare, hospitals, clinics. A hospital, the pros of a hospital is most hospitals have really good benefits if they haven't changed. But when I worked at a hospital, I worked at St. Vincent. St. Vincent, I worked from 2002 to 2005. I was a lab courier in St. Vincent. Worked the graveyard shift when I first started. I worked 7 at night to 7 in the morning. I think I was 18, 19, somewhere in there. Maybe even 20, somewhere in there. 18, yeah, probably somewhere in there. I think when I left, I was about 21, 22, something like that. But worked 7 at night, 7 in the morning. Thing about hospitals, the benefits was good, but they're open 24/7. So if you don't have the time to take off on the holidays, most of the time you're probably gonna be working, depending on where you're working, what position you're in. If you're not an RN or a doctor or executive level or management or something like that, you're probably going to be mostly job and career, somewhere in there, depending on what you get into. But they have the pros working in the hospital. They have a lot of positions that you can, once you get your foot in the door, you can move to, like being a scrub tech. You don't have to always be a manager. You can be a scrub tech. You can be a pharmacy technician, like help the pharmacy out. You can do environmental services, like janitor work. If you like that, you can draw blood, be a phlebotomist. It's a lot of positions. Like I say, for me, a lab courier, that was easy. That was a cake job for me. All I did was when Doctor's Hospital was open, I would take blood from doctors, ER, NICU, and Living Hope. I would take it over to St. Vincent because their lab closed down because they was consolidating that hospital. But they needed a lab courier to take the blood across the street to St. Vincent. So imagine me being 6'5", driving a Geo Metro to take blood across the street. How I fit in that car, I don't know, but I did. But the thing about working at a hospital, I think when I was working there, I think I was at like $8.50, $9 or something like that. Something like that, $8.50, $9 or something like that. Really wasn't a whole super lot. Worked a lot of overtime and I got shift diff and stuff like that. So we're still bringing home pretty good. But I mean, for that time, I think I was roommating at that time. It was 3 of us living in the house. So we was kind of splitting up the rent and bills and stuff like that. But you don't get a lot. They nickel and dime you to death. You may get a 3% raise, 5% raise, 3% raise. And then one thing I learned about working at that level, working in jobs and stuff like that, is that this is the gray area a lot of people don't talk about, is on your evaluation. Some people kind of get ticky about it. Some people don't. I think I could care less because, like I say, I didn't feel like I was going to be there forever anyway. But you never really get like all high marks on your evaluation. You may get all 4s, but you'll never get all 5s like perfect. And sometimes they'll tell you that. Your manager will tell you that, like, hey, nobody gets perfect on their evaluation. You may get 1 5 and all 4s, but you're not going to get a perfect evaluation. Sometimes you hear in the wind that the streets talk that they don't give out perfect evaluations because they don't want to give you the max raise that you probably could get. I didn't too much care about that. Just wasn't my thing. I'm not one of those people that's a perfectionist that I feel like you rate me perfect. I just come to work, do my job, do what I need to do, what's expected of me, get my check, and live my life. All the other stuff, I just don't get caught up in. Like I told you, it's all about point A, you need to get to point B, and all the stuff that's in between. Can you get to point B without getting stuck or getting caught up in the stuff that's in between point A and point B? Can you get there without getting caught up? So that's how I look at it, And one thing about St. Vincent too was they would always give out free stuff instead of giving raises all the times. They might give out a free duffel bag. They may give like care packages or something like that. And when I thought about that, I didn't get it when I was younger, but when I got older, I used to be like, why are they really doing this? But I think they was doing for tax write-offs though. There's a tax write. Instead of giving you a raise, they give everybody a one-time thing and they write that off instead of giving everybody a raise where it costs more. There's one thing you got to understand about the corporate world. We don't see it from the other side of the fence. If you give everybody a raise, now the budget goes up and it takes away from the profit. And one thing about business is all about profit. That's what it's all about. Bottom line, profit. And you have to, the more profit that you can bring a company, most of the time, I'm going to say about 60% of the time, you may be able to leverage and get more of a salary than if you just turning the wheel. You just another cog on the wheel. You know, those position cogs on the wheels, from my experience, they don't get a lot of money because they feel like they can bring somebody off the street and replace that. But high level management skill positions, you can't just replace those positions, and they pay a little more because the company is kind of critical to run on those positions. Those are not just cogs in the wheel. Some people, like you taking that executive management away, that company could fold. So it's something to think about. Always know your value and what the job that you're doing is. So the next field I see is healthcare. Well, not healthcare, yeah, hotels and restaurants. Now, this field is a little tricky because restaurants, they probably gonna pay you minimum wage unless you can negotiate. They always stay around minimum wage or a couple of dollars high. Never go above or beyond unless you got a connection or something like that, or you have to move up into management or something like that. But restaurants, the gray area. I mean, the good part is, you get free food and stuff. But the cons is, man, most of them, if they're like, let's say you work at a McDonald's or something. If you go to McDonald's drive-thru, most of the time they're always crowded from open to close. Most of them are jumping. You may have a little bit of slow time, but most of the time they're jumping. I bet you if you go to McDonald's right now, their drive-thru is crowded. Like the line it may not be long, but peak hours though, their line is, those cars come all the way back almost to the street sometimes. And imagine being in there working, and every time you look on the screen, it's an order pop up. Beep, 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 beep. It's just Big Mac, filet of fish, Big Mac, Big Mac, Big Mac, Whopper, not Whopper, but whatever they have, quarter pounder. You have to make all of this. Somebody has to make all of this. Somebody has to ring up all of this. Somebody, now they a little bit more efficient. They have somebody taking the order, somebody at the register, then they got the people cooking. When I worked at a restaurant, the one person took the order and did the register. It wasn't 2 lanes, it was only 1 lane, and it was even longer. So, and the pay, you don't get a lot of raise. You get like nickel and dime raises, sometimes if that. And those, the only way it comes into a career, like say, if you get a management, get into management programs, some of them have management programs you can get into, but like I say, you're gonna have to work when you get into that management. You're gonna be there a lot. And you have to manage people. It's easy to say you want to be a manager, but to manage personalities, that's a whole nother ball game, dealing with the people who want to do just enough work, or person that's late all the time. They always like 15 minutes late, or the person that they call in all the time, and you have to cover them because they call in all the time. And it's a lot working in those restaurants. It's a lot. I seen a guy who was on this 60 Minutes. He had like a bar, like one of those bistro restaurants. He said he couldn't find people to work. Now, the cons of working in those restaurants, because I worked at this restaurant, it's closed down now. It was on Chenal. A waiter don't get paid a regular wage unless it changed. But when I did it, I wasn't a waiter. I used to wash dishes. But from what they told me, they don't get paid like 8 minimum wage. They get paid like under that, like maybe $3 or $4 an hour. But you got to make your money on tips and stuff like that. So that's something to think about too. What if it's a slow day and you get paid that? Are you gonna stay up there and make fun? Are you gonna go home? Sometimes the manager will send you home. The head chef will send you home because they don't have enough people to pay the payroll and stuff like that. Sometimes they talk to you crazy. Hey, what are you doing, man? Why are you not doing what you're supposed to be doing? What are you doing? So that's another thing to think about. Those restaurant jobs can be pretty tough. You gotta have tough skin. You gotta have a resilient mind to understand that he's just kind of using this job as a shield. He kind of talked to me, but a lot of times they see you outside the job, they happy-go-lucky, but they'll talk crazy to you at the job. I don't know if that's their tactic, but that's why a lot of those managers like that, they have a lot of high turnover. So something to think about. Hotels. I worked at a hotel downtown. Shout out to my cousin, Dee. She got me on there. Shuttle driver. That's what I did, but you kind of see different patterns. A shuttle driver, I used to pick up airliners, pilots, stewardess, people going to hotels, taking them downtown, river market, all that stuff. And it was a really cool job too. Used to get pretty good tips, but hotels, working at a hotel though is pretty crazy because the people that they got to clean up the rooms and stuff. I don't know if I could do that because you think about how gross people are and how kind of crazy things could be. And you got to go in there and get the sheets and all that stuff and take it to the washroom and wash them and stuff. That's a pretty tough job. And a lot of those people, man, I used to take them home sometimes. They didn't have a car. I used to have to shuttle them home. And man, those people was dog tired when they got off work sometime. And I don't know how much they made, but I'm pretty sure it was around minimum wage though. Because most jobs don't give you top dollar, they give you around minimum wage, a little bit higher, Career jobs give you a little bit more because you're doing a skill, but most of these jobs though, those low wage jobs, they're around minimum wage, and they only move up to those stuff when it's mandated. If they don't have to, they're not gonna do it. Just think about it. When I worked at Baskin Robbins, they weren't gonna give me $10 an hour. They're gonna give me minimum wage, and they're not gonna give me $10 an hour. I mean, you're crazy. But just like now, it's gonna be $15. I think it's like 11 something now. It's gonna be $15 an hour. So 30,000 to get out of high school, $15 an hour. That's a good starting point, but you don't want to finish there. That's a good starting point though. But I would definitely tell a person, especially young men, man, you can do an apprenticeship and really clean up. Go to apprenticeship and you probably make 15, 16, maybe even more. And then get your journeyman license, whether it's plumber, electrician, or carpentry. And man, you can work for yourself and work for a company. And you can pay for your own school. If you want to go to school, learn how to keep your books or do your taxes, so you understand accounting and stuff. You can do that too, and you can pay for it. Being a contractor, you pick your own hours. You work the kind of jobs you want to work once you become like a journeyman or master, So, but hotels are pretty rough too. You have to, they're always open. They're open 24/7. So unless you got that time to take off, they do events. You work at a higher end hotel, you probably gonna be working even more. Even shuttle drivers, I mean, we had to deal with those pilots, man. They used to think they was rock stars and stuff. And man, they used to get on my nerves. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't too much care for them. So they used to always complain because they want you to cater to them, like they was just like the king of England or something. Like, come on, man, get out of here. You're just a pilot, man. Just fly planes, dude. But they felt like they was rock stars and stewardess because I guess, they hung around pilots. They felt like they was like right up under them. It's like, man, come on now. You work for Spirit or Southwest Airlines. Come on now, be for real. So a lot of these jobs have higher turnover to rates because a lot of people work there and they find better paying jobs, after a couple of years or you find a better paying job, or they use it as a stepping stone to do something else. Call center jobs, restaurant jobs, high turnover, man. I mean, working in a hotel, some of those jobs are high turnover. You don't really see a lot of younger people going there and staying there, if they even go there now. A lot of younger people now are kind of, like I say, they doing freelancing, they doing creating content, YouTube, getting in photography. They doing a lot of good things out here. Just, I would tell them still, get some as much education as you can about your skill, what you're really interested in, because a lot of this stuff, it's more than what you think it is than just watching it on TV. I know making content, right? Just buying a decent camera, you may spend no more than you probably at least $500, and that's probably like a 10-year-old camera with the lens or something like that. If you want the latest and greatest, I mean, you're looking at over $2,000, and that's probably just for the body, the camera or whatever. But you really want to do the research and educate yourself as much as you can. I know before I started making content, I did a lot of research, what I need to get, what I need to have, what's the minimum I need. One of my teachers at school, he told me, he wanted me to do this to get out my shell, because he kind of liked we used to joke around a lot in class. And he used to ask me, why you don't make content, man? You should make content. But I told him I just never really not crossed my mind. But he was giving me extra credit to make content, make videos. I started doing it, got bit by the bug. So that's here I am making content. So do you know the difference between a career and a job? A career is something that you can work, about 30 years. And it's different ways to cut a career. Like IT is a career track, but there's so many branches to IT. There's networking, routers and switches, programming, web development, UI, UX. That could be a little bit IT more, graphic design, but sometimes they consider that tech. Like I say, hospitals, you can move up. You don't have to be at the low wage. You can move up to being a scrub tech, management, a lot of the medical fields, nursing, RN. Travel nurses are really cleaning up. You can make really good money doing that. Restaurants, you probably have to be a management. If you work at a restaurant for a long time, you should be thinking about how much does it cost to own and operate one of these restaurants. Because if you work at a restaurant for 30 years and around that year 7, 8, 9, 10, you're not thinking about that, having the mindset to say, you know what, how much does it cost to own and operate a restaurant? I may need to look into franchising, because if you've been there that long, you should kind of know or pick up on how things are flowing, how things work, things of that nature. So I'm going to sign out. I think I've said enough. I'd like to thank you for sharing, and subscribe. I ask you to help me get to that 1K subscriber mark. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed my breakdown of looking into this great resignation. And I hope that you can understand that you don't have to let these jobs or let these low-wage jobs make you feel like you're stuck, because you're not. There's always a way to do something better. It's all about if you want to do it, if you want to put in the work. Like I say, talent can get you through the door, but their work and technique will keep you inside the door and maintain. This is Mike. I'm signing out. Thanks for watching. Hit the like button, subscribe, and I'm signing out. Thank you.